Magnum P.I. became this perfect blend of action, humor, and Hawaiian paradise that made Thursday night's television an unforgettable experience. In my opinion, it's one of those shows that defined what TV could be in that era, and there are so many wild stories behind the scenes that most people never knew about. The show looked effortless on screen, but the reality of making it was way more complicated and interesting than you'd think.
Well, I'm a little tapped out right now.
Now there's a news flash.
I have to talk to you. Don't hang up. Higgins?
Number 1. Tom Selleck almost played Indiana Jones. What I love most about the story is how close we came to never getting Magnum as we know it. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas wanted Tom Selleck for Raiders of the Lost Ark, and he actually screen tested for the role. CBS wouldn't release him from his Magnum P.I. contract though, so Harrison Ford got the part instead.
I did what I did. I don't expect you to be happy about it. But maybe it can do us both some good.
Why start
Just
now?
shut up! Shut up and listen to me. Now I need that piece your father had.
Imagine that alternate universe where Selleck is Indiana Jones and someone else is wearing Detroit Tigers caps in Hawaii. The timing worked out perfectly in the end because Magnum became a massive hit, but Selleck has said he still wonders what would have happened if he'd gotten to play Indy.
And why'd I have to wear this hat?
To keep the sun out of your eyes.
I know what you're thinking. I was thinking it too.
Number 2. The Ferrari wasn't actually Magnum's. Everyone associates Magnum with that gorgeous red Ferrari GTS, but here's the thing. The car belonged to Robin Masters, the mysterious millionaire whose estate Magnum lived on. In the show's universe, Magnum was basically broke and living off Robin's generosity. The Ferrari was one of the perks of the job as estate security.
Nice set of wheels you got here. Where'd you steal her?
What makes you think she isn't mine?
No.
What's wild is that they used multiple Ferraris during the series because these cars kept breaking down. Italian sports cars in the Hawaiian heat and humidity were not a great combination. They went through several Ferraris over the show's run.
You continue to drive a car that you do not own, do not rent, and do not even wash. And while you were driving that car, it suffered $2,700 worth of damage.
Number 3. Higgins might have actually been Robin Masters. This is one of those fan theories that the show deliberately kept ambiguous. Joan Hillerman played Higgins, the stuffy estate manager who was constantly at odds with Magnum.
You are Robin Masters.
But there were hints throughout the series that Higgins might actually be Robin Masters himself. Orson Welles voiced Robin Masters in a few episodes, but even that felt like misdirection. The show's creators never confirmed it either way, which I think was genius. It let viewers make up their own minds.
And who, may I ask, is the man we know and address as Robin Masters?
I don't know, some little guy with a voice like Orson Welles and a body like Truman Capote.
Number 4. The Hawaiian shirt collection was absolutely massive. Magnum's wardrobe became iconic with those bright Hawaiian shirts and the Detroit Tigers cap. What most people don't know is that the costume department had dozens and dozens of different Hawaiian shirts for Selleck to wear.
I know what you're thinking, and you're right.
They sourced them from local Hawaiian shops and vintage stores. Each shirt had to work on camera, which meant that certain patterns and colors looked better than others. The shirts became such a signature that stores started selling Magnum P.I. style shirts. That whole 80s tropical fashion aesthetic owes a lot to what the show popularized.
TC, you mean you'd let me drive out of here broke?
Well, that's the way you always drive in.
Number 5. The show created a tourism boom in Hawaii. After Magnum P.I. started airing, tourism to Hawaii increased significantly. People wanted to visit the locations they saw on TV every week. The estate where they filmed, which was a real private property, started getting so many fans trying to visit that they had to increase security. The show basically served as an 8-season commercial for Hawaiian tourism. I mean, watching Magnum drive that Ferrari along the coast with the ocean and mountains in the background made everyone want to book a flight to Honolulu immediately.
Aloha, partner.
Aloha!
Number 6. Tom Selleck did a lot of his own stunts. What's interesting about Selleck's performance is how physical it was. He insisted on doing many of his own stunts, which was actually pretty common for 80s TV.
That is absolutely ridiculous.
That's the whole point, Higgins.
Selleck would do the running, fighting, some of the driving sequences. Obviously they had stunt doubles for the really dangerous stuff, but Selleck wanted Magnum to feel authentic. You can tell it's actually him in a lot of those shots.
Here, you call me because I know you're broke.
I'll give you gas money.
Number 7. The cast actually became close friends. The chemistry between Magnum, Rick, and TC wasn't just acting. Tom Selleck, Larry Manetti, and Roger E. Mosley actually became genuine friends during filming. They'd hang out between takes or go to dinner together.
I told you I wasn't the one to fix your old wash tub, but you still owe me $50 for the spark plugs.
You see, I'll need your van.
That friendship definitely comes through on screen. When you watch those scenes of the three of them at the King Kamehameha Club or helping each other out, it feels real because it was. Even John Hillerman, despite playing the antagonistic Higgins, was part of that bond. The cast stayed friends long after the show ended.
Your case reminds me of Mandalay in '48 when Burma gained its independence.
Higgins, please, I do not want another one of your travel logs.
Number 8. The veteran background was deliberate and important. Magnum's backstory as a Vietnam veteran was a conscious choice by the creators. The show aired in 1980, not long after the war ended. Having Magnum, Rick, and TC all be Vietnam veterans who were dealing with their experiences was pretty bold for a lighthearted action show.
Did you see the sunrise this morning?
They didn't make it the focus of every episode, but it was always there in the background. Magnum would have flashbacks or references to his time in Nam. The show treated veterans with respect at a time when that wasn't always the case in media.
But I am not suffering from delayed stress, and I'm not Looney Tunes.
Number 9. The theme is one of the most recognizable ever. Mike Post and Peter Carpenter composed that iconic theme, and it's genuinely one of the greatest TV themes of all time. You hear those opening notes and you immediately know what show you're watching. The theme was so popular, it actually charted as a single. I mean, that's rare for a TV theme. The music perfectly captured that blend of laid-back tropical vibes and action-packed adventure that defined the show. Number 10. The show almost didn't end when it did. After 8 seasons, Magnum P.I. ended in 1988 with what was supposed to be the series finale. Magnum seemingly died, there was a whole emotional send-off, but the ratings were still strong and CBS wanted to keep it going. They convinced Selleck to do one more season, so they brought Magnum back to life in a way that suggested the death was symbolic or a near-death experience. That 9th season never happened though because Selleck really did want to move on. The finale aired and became one of the most watched episodes of the entire series.
Threw it away to be a private eye investigator, and I didn't throw anything away.
Magnum P.I. is one of those shows that captured a very specific time and place. The 80s, Hawaii, post-Vietnam America, all of it came together in this series that was both fun and surprisingly thoughtful when it wanted to be. These behind-the-scenes stories just add another layer to why the show worked so well and why it's still beloved decades later. Knight Rider took a simple premise about a guy and his talking car and turned it into a cultural phenomenon that defined an entire generation. In my opinion, Knight Rider is one of those perfect time capsules of 80s television, and there's so much wild stuff that happened behind the scenes that most people have no idea about. These facts blow my mind every time I think about them.
Knight Rider, a shadowy flight into the dangerous world of a man who does not exist.
Number 1. Kit was almost a dune buggy. What I love most about this fact is how close we came to never getting the iconic Trans Am. Originally, Glenn A. Larson wanted Michael Knight's vehicle to be a dune buggy or some kind of off-road vehicle. Can you imagine Knight Rider without that sleek black Pontiac Firebird Trans Am?
Sounds like a little professional jealousy to me.
Jealous? Of those high-powered broomsticks on wheels?
The whole aesthetic of the show would have been completely different. Thankfully, someone realized that a sophisticated AI deserved to be housed in one of the coolest cars of the era, and the Trans Am became Kit. That decision alone probably saved the entire show.
It always makes you feel so much better on those rare occasions when you outthink me.
Well, that's funny. That's very funny.
Number 2. David Hasselhoff was basically unknown when he got cast. I swear, when you watch Knight Rider now, knowing how massive the Hoff became, it's wild to remember that he was basically a nobody when the show started. He'd done some soap opera work on The Young and Restless, but Knight Rider was his big break.
I've tried to interest Michael in the romance languages, but he prefers things like rock and roll and girls in bikinis.
The producers took a huge gamble on an unproven lead, and it paid off massively. Hasselhoff became such an icon from the show that even today, decades later, people still associate him with Michael Knight and that talking car.
I wouldn't push it if I were you. You're not me.
Number 3. William Daniels refused to be credited for Kit's voice. This one always fascinated me. William Daniels, who voiced Kit, didn't want his name in the opening credits. He felt that being credited would break the illusion that Kit was a real artificial intelligence rather than an actor doing a voice. That's some serious commitment to the craft right there. Eventually they convinced him to accept credit, but for a while Kit was literally voiced by an uncredited performer.
A lot of men would die for duty like this.
You nearly have on several occasions. With your usual lack of subtlety, you would have no problem at all in panicking anyone with anything at all to hide. Actually,
Say it.
Yes, Michael, I know.
Shut up.
Number 4. They used multiple Trans Ams and most got destroyed. Back to the Future had multiple DeLoreans and Knight Rider had the same situation with Trans Ams. Over the course of the series, they went through something like 19 different Pontiac Firebirds. The show was brutal on these vehicles. Each one was modified differently depending on what it needed to do for a particular scene.
Here we go, pal.
I hope it's the right apartment, Michael.
Then that's it, Kit. You should be functioning flawlessly. At least until that nut starts abusing you.
Thanks a lot.
Number 5. The show almost got cancelled after one season. I love how Knight Rider is remembered as this massive 80s hit, but the reality is the first season struggled with ratings. NBC was seriously considering cancelling it. The show only got renewed because it started doing well in reruns over the summer between season 1 and 2. People discovered it when they had nothing else to watch, fell in love with it, and suddenly the show became a must-see on TV. That's the kind of second chance that doesn't really happen anymore in our instant cancellation streaming era.
Oh no, human remains.
Don't fall in love with one of these beautiful cars and run off on me, huh?
I wouldn't dream of it.
Number 6. The show was created by the same guy who made Magnum P.I. Glenn A. Larson created both Knight Rider and Magnum P.I, which basically means this guy understood exactly what made great 80s television.
Sometimes everything goes exactly as planned.
He had this formula down. Take a cool protagonist, give them something unique, add some action, and boom, you've got a hit show. Knight Rider was his attempt to do Magnum, but with more sci-fi elements, and it worked perfectly. Larson was basically a machine when it came to creating shows. He had his finger on the pulse of what audiences wanted, and he delivered it consistently. The man knew how to craft entertainment that felt substantial, but was also just pure fun. Knight Rider had this perfect balance of being smart enough to be interesting, but never taking itself too seriously.
I do know how to drive.
I would have preferred you to have let me open the door first.
Number 7. The interior dashboard was mostly non-functional. When you watch Knight Rider, Kit's interior looks incredibly high-tech with all those buttons and screens and displays. The reality is, most of that stuff was completely non-functional. It was just props and lights that looked cool on camera.
All these weird gadgets, you think they'd give you a radio?
What would you like to hear?
What the hell was that?
I am the voice of Knight Industry 2000's microprocessor, KITT for easy reference.
The screens showing graphics and readouts were often just printed images or simple light displays. They didn't have the technology in the early 80s to make all that stuff actually work, so they faked it. And honestly, it still looks impressive even knowing that.
It's exactly 3.5 miles.
3.5 miles. Good.
Number 8. David Hasselhoff did a lot of his own stunts. The Huff insisted on doing a lot of his own stunts, including fights and some of the driving sequences. Obviously, the really dangerous stuff went to professional stunt drivers, but Hasselhoff wanted to be as involved as possible.
One more word out of you, and you're gonna wish you were never born.
One more word out of you. You're gonna wish I never was either.
Don't you tell it.
Number 9. Carr was originally supposed to be a recurring villain. Car, the evil prototype version of Kit, only appeared in 2 episodes of the entire series, but originally the producers wanted him to be a recurring antagonist who showed up throughout the entire show. Budget constraints and the difficulty of filming scenes with 2 talking cars made that impractical. Those 2 car episodes are still some of the best in the series though. Having an evil version of Kit was such a perfect villain concept. I wish they'd found a way to bring him back more often.
I will protect you. Brace for collision.
You may not be Aladdin, but I am the genie. I can make all your dreams come true.
Number 10. The show's syndication made it more popular than its original run. This is the most insane fact to me. Knight Rider became a global phenomenon not because of its network broadcasts, but because of syndication. After the show ended in 1986, it got sold to markets all over the world. Countries that had never seen it during its original run discovered it in the late 80s and early 90s.
Thinking about a new car? And check out 1985's Car of the Year. This year, Kit has more amazing features and more incredible powers than ever. And September 30th, you can see them all.
I can't wait.
If you can't wait, call 1-900-210-KITT and find out more.
Michael?
Easy, buddy.
Knight Rider was lightning in a bottle. It combined everything great about 80s television into one perfect package and gave us a show that people still love and remember decades later.
Michael Knight, a lone crusader in a dangerous world. The world of the Knight Rider.
The A-Team managed to do something that very few 80s action shows succeeded in. It created a formula that worked perfectly and then stuck with it for 5 seasons without ever getting old. In my opinion, the show understood exactly what it was and never tried to be anything else. Explosions, car chases, and guys with big ass muscles and cigars building insane contraptions out of scrap metal before MacGyver was even a thought. And of course, nobody ever actually dying despite thousands of bullets being fired. That's the A-Team in a nutshell, and it's glorious. What I love most about this fact is how perfectly it captures the 80s. Those gold chains Mr. T wore as B.A. Baracus weren't costume department props. They were his actual jewelry that he'd been collecting for years. He claimed he wore them to reclaim the gold that was taken from his African ancestors. The costume people just looked at him covered in gold and said, yeah, that works cause it looks badass as fuck. B.A.'s entire look was basically Mr. T showing up to set as himself.
He said, your mother works street corners and you're so ugly, flies wouldn't land on you.
He also said that you're a chicken-hearted lowlife who sleeps in pig slop. And your sister...
Okay, I get the point.
The behind-the-scenes tension between Hannibal and B.A. was apparently real. Josh Peppard, who played Hannibal Smith, and Mr. T couldn't stand each other. Peppard was a classically trained actor who took the work much more seriously.
You learn to love him, Mama, but it takes a long time.
That's the same thing he said about you.
Mr. T was a bodyguard turned celebrity who was still figuring out acting. They clashed constantly behind the scenes, which is crazy to think about because the tension never really showed on screen. The team dynamic worked perfectly despite these guys barely speaking between takes.
Why do we need that crazy fool? Put me down, fool, put me down. Shut up, put me down.
Germany actually banned the A-Team when it first aired because they thought it was too violent, which is hilarious to me because nobody ever dies in the show. You could fire 1,000 rounds into a vehicle and the bad guys would crawl out with minor scratches. German authorities saw all those explosions and gunfights and decided it was too much for television. The ban eventually got lifted, but for years German audiences had no idea what they were missing. That iconic black and red GMC van with the red stripe is basically its own character in the show. But the funny thing is, they went through multiple vans during production because they kept destroying them doing stunts. Every time they needed a new one, they had to repaint it to match exactly. There are subtle differences between vans if you look closely enough, but most viewers never noticed because the paint job was so distinctive.
I'm gonna get them. They got my van. If I don't get my ride back, I'm gonna be talking to you, man.
You don't believe in that Western code thing. Never shoot a man in the back, let him draw first, that kind of thing.
No, I surely don't.
Well, good. Neither do I.
The show had a formula and never deviated from it. Someone in trouble hires the team, and they then plan something wild and over the top. BA gets drugged because he's afraid of flying. They build weapons from random parts, and there's always an iconic montage. Bad guys get beat up, nobody dies, roll credits.
Lady, couple boats, fresh paint. It'd be good as new.
That structure repeated for 98 episodes and it never got boring. The writers knew they had something that worked and saw no reason to fix what wasn't broken.
Stay away from me. I don't want your help.
I thought you wanted to hire the A-team. I'm Edward Bella III, the president of Bella Airlines. You're my executive vice president. We give them the $5 million and ourselves as hostages.
So the two of us assume an offensive posture against 6 guys with guns in an airplane at 35,000 feet over the ocean.
Well, it's the application of the theory that's interesting.
And I want you to be my role model, somebody I can look up to when the purple wobblies start to wobble.
Say what?
Dwight Schultz, who played Howling Mad Murdoch, was almost fired after the pilot because studio executives thought he was too over the top. They wanted someone more down to earth, which just once again shows that studio execs are full of shit and have no idea what they are doing.
You, Jacqueline Lee Taylor, take this man, Calvin Cutter, to be your lawful wedded husband.
Stephen Cannell, the show's creator, fought to keep him because he understood that Murdoch's insanity was the perfect counterbalance to Hannibal's planning and BA's muscle. Thank God Cannell won that fight because Murdoch became one of the most hilarious and beloved characters.
Trash bag! New trash bag! Trash bag! Trash bag!
Speed! Trash bag!
Trash bag!
Most people don't know this, but the original face in the pilot episode was played by Tim Dunnigan, not Dirk Benedict. The network thought Dunnigan looked too young to be a convincing Vietnam vet, so they recast the role with Benedict for the series. Benedict brought this smooth-talking charm to face that made the character iconic.
Where would I possibly find a woman who could drag me away from you?
Let go! I'll call you. Bye.
Dunnigan's version barely exists in people's memories because Benedict just became face.
Maybe the senator's kid talked. I never thought he had all his lights on.
If he burned us, he knows about me.
You got it, Tano. I think we should, disappear.
The A-Team holds some kind of unofficial record for blank rounds fired on a television production. Every episode had multiple gunfights where dozens or hundreds of shots would get fired. The soundstage must have smelled like gunpowder constantly. All those blanks cost money too, but the show was successful enough that NBC kept writing checks for more ammunition. Stephen Cannell based the A-Team concept on real special forces units from Vietnam who went underground after the war. Obviously, the show took massive creative liberties with the premise, but the core idea of highly skilled soldiers being wrongly accused and operating outside of the law came from actual post-Vietnam stories Cannell had heard.
Listen, what do you want?
$166,200. Now that I got your attention.
That iconic theme song by Mike Post and Peter Carpenter was reportedly recorded in a single take. The whole thing just came together perfectly on the first try. Post was known for creating memorable TV themes in the 80s, and the A-Team theme might be one of his best works.
If no one else can help, and if you can find them, maybe you can hire the A-Team.
You hear those opening notes and you know exactly what you're watching. It's as 80s as it gets, which is exactly why it's so iconic. The A-Team is one of those shows that perfectly captured what 80s action television was all about. Big personalities, simple plots, and that absolute commitment to over-the-top entertainment.
You're under arrest. You're under arrest.
I got to take my nephew Harold. He's a little retarded, but he is a nurse.
Retarded?